Kings. How are you? I just wanted to make this quick.
Hey everybody, it is Miyanna Joye with Conversations with Kings. I'm super excited to be here with Kenneth Leeto and Dr. Brandon Maloney. We're so excited. Before we get started we're going to be talking about today the difference between a man and a male. I would like you guys to introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about who you are and your speciality.
Go ahead, Ken, if you want to go first.
I'll go age before beauty.
Well, my name is Dr. Brandon Maloney. I'm originally from New York, Brooklyn, New York. I'm here in Toronto, Canada now. I'm really excited about this topic because it's something near and dear to my heart. And it's one of the reasons I coach. I coach basketball. We'll get into that a little bit, but it's a way of mentorship with young males. So I think that's a huge. I think the difference between a male, and men, it starts with upbringing, and there's a huge gap that needs to be filled. So when the lovely Miyanna offered to have me on, I was super excited. So thank you for having me.
Definitely, I'm excited as well. Kenneth?
Yeah, hi, my name is Kenneth Bell. I live in the great state of Pennsylvania. I live in the suburbs of Philadelphia, Abington, PA. I have a degree in psychology from the University of Connecticut, and I major in human services. And just my specialty is dealing with human interaction, human relationships, and the different dynamics that are out there. So me and our lovely host had a conversation that about a video that was on my Facebook feed, and she gave me a little nasty little inbox like, I don't like that.
Exactly. Wait, you just said that, so let's play the video basically, so
okay, good. So everybody will know what I'm talking about.
Well, Kenneth, I feel like we're brothers. I went to Temple, so I feel like we're Philly brothers now. Rest in peace, John Chaney. Go ahead.
All right, let me play the video.
I don't know who black daughter needs to hear this, but a black man is not your ATM nor your financer. For you to think that a black man's only provision is financially is insane. And for you to expect a black man to maintain a lifestyle for you that you cannot even maintain yourself is absolutely absurd. Social media and all these female rappers have made you think that it's cool.
All right, so that's a little snippet of what it was, and I did hit Kenneth up because he posted it, and I was like, I do not believe in the end. Basically, it's not the extent of like I believe that somebody should use somebody, but I do believe in holding men at a standard. So it doesn't mean that men have to
said a word,
but holding them up at a first standard. But continue, Kenneth.
So we're not disagreeing about the fact that a man has a standard, but I think a lot of times society has tried to redefine what manhood is for the African American male. In the Jewish community, you have your bar mitzvah. And Asian societies, they have rites of passage. In African society, they have rites of passage. So young males transitioning from being young males to men know the particular standard. But nowadays, you got, well, I like a man who's emotional, and I like a man who talks about his feelings, and I like a man. It's all these different things that roll around, and people are trying to redefine what manhood is, and then they wonder why, when they get involved with a male, he doesn't meet certain criteria. So I guess the discussion, what we was talking about is, and what I was trying to tell you is levels to this. So there's definitely a difference between a male, a guy who can go out there and procreate and make other children because he has the XY chromosome, and a man who holds himself to a certain standard. So I guess that was the basis of the conversation, and that was the gist of the whole discussion. And you was trying to tell me, well, this, that, and the third, and I was like, well, there's levels to it. No, that's a male. That's not a man. That's a male. Yeah. That's not a man.
And so, I do have to
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Like even though were examples of men that you associate yourself with, like that was examples of actual who men are compared to even, some of the men I've dealt with, basically, and stuff like that. So it's like I definitely do agree having this conversation.
Well, what I was saying is that I can't personally be friends with any male who doesn't take care of his kids. And I know personally have friends who despise their baby mothers, hate their guts. But when called upon, oh, I have a flat tire, or the water heater's not, and they'll go over and they'll fix it at their cost. Don't ask for no money, no nothing. And as soon as it get done, don't talk to me, I'm out the door. Because he's living up to his responsibility, because this is the mother of his children.
Wow, that's amazing.
His children are still within the age where he has to take care of them financially. So he's more concerned about the well-being of his kids and the fact that if she's not doing right, even though they're not in a personal relationship together, if she's not doing right psychologically, it's going to affect her kids. So these are the standards that we need to discuss and talk about, because there's other people out there trying to define what manhood is for our men. You know what I'm saying? And they put these people out there who are males, and then they give all men bad names, because people are now looking at this example and putting this example out there as males when they don't, as men, when they don't meet the criteria, they don't fall within the standard. And that's what I really wanted to talk about on the show tonight.
Awesome. Dr. Brandon, do you have anything to say about that? Dr. Maloney?
Yeah, I'll back up a little bit. I'm kind of old school, so I believe in chivalry. So if I'm dating or taking somebody out, the expectation is that I'm going to pay.
Sure.
But it is 2021, and I do realize that at some point, you want to give the woman the opportunity to do that as well. But to be honest, that makes me a little uncomfortable. I don't understand Dutch. I don't do Dutch. Part of being a gentleman, I think, is courting, and I think paying for dates, taking for dates, planning the dates is part of that. So I don't believe in the Dutch. I know some of the younger generation does that. If I'm asking you out, I'm paying. It's not a misogyny thing. That's just the way I am. I'm kind of old school that way.
You'll be called
understanding that women can do it too.
And what were you saying, Kenneth? It didn't come out.
I said in some circles, I apologize for interrupting you. You will be called a male chauvinist, and I think what's important is to, I think, understand that societal norms have changed. And I totally agree with you. And what we were discussing earlier was the fact that men are the only group, and I'm gonna use, because I can only speak for myself, so I'm gonna use black men. We're the only group that's not valued just for being. Other groups are just valued just for being. Like, you'll have a woman and, oh, she's so beautiful, and they don't discuss, like, oh, where she works, or what. Sometimes they'll say, what can she bring to the table? And you'll see a child, and they'll be like, oh, that's such a beautiful child. And when you're talking about the man, one of the first three things is going to come out. Probably his physical looks, probably what type of car he drives, and where does he work. So it's all, most of the things that are talked about and addressed as far as goes for men is the economic factor. And what happens is when that happens, you might have a guy who's a great guy. He provides for his family in other ways, but he doesn't meet, shall we say, meet the mark as far as financially. So in the society, he's looked at less than, because he's maybe not a doctor, or maybe not a college graduate, and maybe don't bring as much to the table. But in that criteria, does he meet the standard of being is he a male or is he a man?
Yeah, and even when it comes to
that's a great point. That I guess that would depend on the woman. For me, the criteria man is basically, this is what I teach to my students. It's accountability, it's integrity, it's security, and being a man in your word, which is honesty. So 3 to 4 of those don't include money. Yes, security, That can be physical and or providing financial means in a home and comfort. But that's not the only thing that makes up a man, in my opinion. How many guys, flip the switch? How many guys with money treat their women well, right? How many of them have integrity? How many of them are honest? How many of them don't have three women on the side? It's so I rank those other qualities higher, especially integrity and accountability. I think that's back to the black male thing. I think that's one of our biggest weaknesses, and I think where we've let down our women is the bar has. Back to your point, the bar has been lowered. That's why I started here with the dating stuff because it all trickles down from there.
Mm.
If you're not, if you're dating a woman, what a woman wants is honesty. She wants respect, right? I don't mean to speak for a woman, but she wants to know your intentions, and you let her make the decision, right? The
Yeah.
problem is the bar is low. The bar is very very low. Guys aren't doing ish. Like there's no
Mm-hmm.
date planning. There's no door holding. There's no respect. It's just it's just a beeline straight into a woman's pants. That's it. So
I
they
agree.
do the least amount of work to get what they want and move on to the next.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that has to change.
I
Well,
definitely do
well,
agree with somebody like being a female, basically, and it was basically almost going on 3 years that I was out of a relationship, and I've dated a lot of Well, I usually date older, so it's like when I did date like men my age, it was always a turnoff because their focus was always very different than a guy that's older, um, and to me, like a lot of older men are also still into traditional gender roles, basically, and
fact.
they yeah, and the chivalrous and everything like that.
Well,
Um, yeah. Was you gonna say
I,
something?
yeah, I think the issue is a little bit complex. Um, with men just not, young boys not meeting the mark. It's not just. I think as far as me, I've always had a older male role model
Mm.
coming up, and I think there's a lot of um, well, here's the complex. Here's part of the issue. Here's one of the issues that I see. You may have a woman who's in a relationship, and the relationship ends, and the male may have a son or may have a child with the woman. Now, if the woman is understanding, is mature, is capable, and able to sort through her emotions and allow the man to be there for their children, then you'll have an applicable situation. But you do have some situations where the male is trying to give guidance to the younger male. The older male is trying to give advice. The man is trying to give advice to the young male, the boy. And because of the particular situation, the mother doesn't have any respect, so she teaches her child not to have any respect for the father. So what happens is you have an emotionally damaged boy who grows into a male. Now, physically he looks like a man. He may have all the trappings of a man. He may have a nice job. He may have education, but emotionally, psychologically, all the characteristics of a male he doesn't meet. So I think it's just more than people not meeting the bar. It's more of a societal issue to the fact that where men are not in the household anymore, or they're in situations where they can't the the young males properly. And I think people are always making excuses for our young males, you know what I'm saying? And there are pitfalls out there. There are traps. There are barriers and obstacles. But what you got to do is, I think and I grew up, my father died before I was born. I was the youngest of six children. My mother was on drugs. I grew up in poverty, welfare, went to bad schools. And I think a defining moment in my life is when I stopped making excuses for myself and realized that, bad things happen to good people. And I
Mhm.
stopped making excuses, and I started to do the things that I needed to do in order to be successful. I started working harder, and I started to do the things and kind of develop the characteristics that I needed to be successful. So and that's why I study psychology, because it is a very complex socioeconomic issue. It's a very complex social issue. It's a very complex. It's just a lot of factors to it, and it's not so cut and dry. It's many different shades of gray.
Yeah. But what you did, that's part of being a man. You were accountable. You were accountable
Facts,
for yourself. You didn't make
facts,
any excuses. And that's
facts,
one of the clear things that I gave on that list before: accountability, integrity, keeping your word. What we developed was self-reliance, and that's being a man. It's being accountable for your own actions and not
facts.
making excuses, right? That's huge. Back to the dating thing. That's a clear difference. When you said that you like older men, that's a clear difference between males and men, if you will. One of the saddest things I see is when I see older guys my age acting like they're still 25,
Oh yeah,
cheating, dogging women, disrespecting women. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's so played out. Like,
it is.
for me, courting is fun. Like,
Yes,
dating,
well,
courting, it should be fun. Like, everything doesn't have to be, a 2020 R. Kelly video, right? I like to slow down. I like going out and get to know people. I like going out to eat and doing different things. Everything doesn't have to be, sex driven. We all want sex. There's nothing wrong with that. But like I said, just be honest with your intentions and let the woman decide. You don't have to do this and lack integrity and all that kind of stuff. The woman might want the same thing you do. They just don't
hmm
want to have to come to your house 2 o'clock in the morning to stab you because you were running around playing in the fool. There's diseases
well,
out there, all that kind of stuff. So part
yeah.
of that accountability is being honest and having integrity and saying, listen, this is what it is. This is what I want. If the
I
problem
think
is guys are selfish, so they're not going to want to. They want to try to put strings on everybody. They try to hold everybody as they can with these lies and try to get as much as they can instead of just being honest with people,
I
which in
think
effect makes women, less endearing for the next person they date, possibly because they've been run through, so many lies. Like, so it really has a trickle down effect. I wish men, you know, I always say black women are the least respected, least protected women. I wish we would hold them to ourselves to a higher standard, hold them to a higher standard when it comes to relationships and dating, and that includes rejection. I just saw that. Everybody saw that video where the girl was in the liquor store and
yeah.
politely rejected, very politely rejected
She
the
said she
guy's
didn't want
advances
him to
to bring her home to
buy her
her,
wine.
and she
She said
got
she'll buy
and she
herself.
got bit
Yeah,
in the face. As I can't tell you,
it's scary.
I
Being a
can't tell you
woman,
how angry that made me. As a man, as a father, that's one of the most despicable things. Like the animals, like that kind of upbringing. Like I don't know how that person was raised, and
right?
men have to check behavior like that because rest assured that guy wouldn't have done it unless his friends didn't co-sign that, right? So it becomes this toxic thing. You are who you hang out with, right?
hmm
Men need to check other men. And a lot of
I
times they
agree.
don't because it's cool. Like
well,
women can't do that to an extent. A man has to check another man. If I'm with, like you made a great point. I don't hang out if my friends are not taking care of the kids, right? That's checking your
yeah,
friends, right? But if you were like, oh, F that girl, that's cool, yeah, let's go out. Then you might be more inclined, like, yeah, you're right. Take the easy path. But again, you're bringing up accountability again.
hmm
All a huge check mark, integrity and accountability. So I'm glad you brought that up because it's all the same thing. So men have to check each other for bad behavior. The problem is if they're all collectively in this group, the bar is low and there's no standards, right? So we all end up suffering, especially the
I
black
think
woman.
it's not just men need to check each other. I think women need to check each other too as well, because you have situations where fathers are trying to discipline their sons and the mother doesn't allow it. You have
Mhm.
situations where women like a certain type of male, and what happens is she, for her poor choices, she chooses a male that already has 3 kids, who left her baby mother to be with her, left his baby mother to be with her, and then once she gets damaged, she's like, "Oh, well, I don't like men now." So I think there's accountability. There's a lot of accountability to go around, and like that guy that in that situation is emotionally damaged, Like, you have to have low self-esteem just to attack somebody like that. Just like the guy, the ex-football player who damn near beat his wife to death because she went and bowed down to him. You know, so now what happens is that we're raising these emotionally shallow, emotionally weak men that, you know, males that you can't even say anything to now. You know, they get all in a hissy fit when you know, say anything that they feel as though is negative or condescending, or you say anything that they don't like. So once again, it's more than just. I think that when people say, when the saying it takes a village to raise a child, that's a more complete statement, because once again, I can go to check that young man, right? So that young man is not hearing what I'm trying to say. So it's either I'm going to walk away, or it's going to go and escalate to another level where I'm going to try to force him to hear what I'm trying to say. Whereas if when he was younger, I had the ability to mentor him while he's younger, that's when you really take young males and make them into men, is when they're younger, when they're pliable. Like, I am my son's male role models. My wife is my son's female role models. I teach them how to treat a woman. My wife teaches them how a woman should act. You know what I'm saying? And most men are going to gravitate towards females who remind them of their mothers. You know what I'm saying? So once again, it's just not on the males to check other males. It's really on us as a culture and society to check each other. Women need to start rewarding these men who are maybe don't fit the criteria of what society say a male should be, but you know, he's a hard worker. He takes care of his family. He takes care of her needs physically and emotionally. He protects her emotions. He's a good father. He helps out in many different ways. Those are the type of men that females need to start giving a chance to, because, you know, once again, the men who meet that criteria, they're not necessarily getting a shot. So by the time that male rolls around and she finally do give a shot, she's so damaged from dealing with these males out there that now she's not even pliable to what he has to give as a male. So now she's just had the opinion, I'm going to get what I can because I don't been screwed over. But that's partially her fault for making poor choices in the type of males that she deal with. So once again, is that on men? It's a complex issue.
It's a complex issue, but I want to stick to the male accountability part. I don't want to, because it is complex and it's cyclical, but I don't want to. I don't want to bring the women into it, because I want to be accountable for what we can do. And if you're asking me, there's, I think Black women are some of the most resourceful, if not the most resourceful, strongest people on this planet. But it has to come to a time where they shouldn't have to be strong anymore. I think it's because a lot of times the males have let them down and they're forced into these situations. Black women need to be loved. They need to be nurtured. They need to be taken care of. They need to have space to have peace, for themselves, and they don't have that because a lot of the times they're so busy doing things that the males in their life that are not doing, that they don't have time to take care of themselves. So they're forced into these strong positions. Black women are the most educated. When anything goes down in real life politics, Black women are always there as a backbone for everybody. So I don't want to, and I agree with you about the complexity, but I want to stick to the fact that the men, I feel that men have let them down for a lot of reasons. I'm not trying to drag male. I just think we need to step our game up and take care of ourselves first, so we can take care of our women. And we, like you said, we're a lot of broken men right now.
So I don't think we're at odds with our understanding. But however, in order to address an issue, you have to understand all facets of the problem. You just can't look at it in black and white. You got to look at it in all aspects of the problems. Now, I agree with you. Holding myself as a man to a certain standard to where I need to provide for my family is key. I wholeheartedly agree with you. But I couldn't force my wife to be with me, right? she had to choose me, and she had to see something in me when I didn't have anything, right? And to give me an opportunity to become the man that I am today, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once again, when you say accountability, right? You can't say we have to leave the sisters out of it, because once again, they're the ones who also have the choice. I can say, well, oh, yeah, you look nice and I want to date you. And if she say, nope, what am I going to do? So, and I don't think that's an attack on Black women. And I don't think that's an attack on everything they do and how they are leaders and how they're strong. I just think that we need, as a culture, we need to change the narrative. And that's on all of us, male, female, and otherwise. You know what I'm saying? So we just can't look at an issue like in black and white and just try to fix the issue when there's other aspects of the issue. So we need to start having an open and honest conversation about, like you said, what it is, what it means to be a male, and holding myself to the standards of being a male. And sisters need to start having an open and conversation about what they like and start giving these males an opportunity to be the leaders of the family, to be the fathers of their children. So they're not just going around and dating the same men who are emotionally damaged. And then what happens is you have this one guy who has 5 kids, and four to five sons that he have are emotionally damaged. That's not on me as a male. That's on us as a culture, that we're feeding into certain social norms that's not beneficial to us.
Mm-hmm. And I think,
But
like, to butt in really quickly, I think that one of the ways that men can hold each other accountable is actually by telling your story. So it's like, Kenneth, like, by you saying where you've come from, how far you've come to be the man that you are today is so inspiring for other men. So if more men that are affluential will actually start saying their story, like, I came from, this place and I'm here, that's another way to hold each other accountable,
Facts.
yeah, and that's why I love coaching. I'm really passionate about basketball. I played high school, a little bit of college, things like that. But and my primary goal is to try to use basketball as a vehicle for success for my kids, to get education. But really, it's to teach these lessons, and sports forces males to. There's a lot of lessons to be learned. Winning with class, losing with grace. Like look what happened in our politics right now. Look what happened. That's the ultimate sore loser. Yes, there's a lot of psychological things going on, but I can't tell you how many kids I've coached that when they lose a game, they won't shake a hand, they won't, things like that. That takes a lot. You have to break down that ego and that testosterone when you lose. Like it's, a lot of kids don't know how to lose, right? Everybody
Mm-hmm.
likes to win. It's all good, but when you lose, that feeling you have, and how to lose with grace and respect your opponent. That's huge, right? And that
Yeah.
goes with our interactions as males with each other out in the street, right? If we're looking at each other as adversaries, or if we're looking at each other like brothers, right? So a lot of that, and that's one of the things I love about it, because you can teach a lot of life lessons. Like I said, just sportsmanship, class, grace, accountability. When you make a mistake, how many times you see guys pointing fingers at other players, or oh, that's your fault. Like no,
Mm-hmm.
like Kenneth said before, you know what? I'm not going to make excuses. I'm going to own up to my own stuff, right? So that's
Facts.
accountability. So there's a lot of lessons, and of course, basketball. There's a lot of black and brown kids, so it's a great way to mentorship. Teach life lessons without being preachy, because it's basketball, right? They may not see the layers. The men, we see it, but it's a way to throw stuff in there. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of I can't tell you how many life lessons on a daily between practice and games and traveling. So it's really a passion of mine. Besides the sports and educational aspect,
Awesome.
is just to have these young 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old males, right? And combating what they see on Instagram every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And try to give them some perspective of what a man is, and not what you see, on Instagram, and stuff
Exactly.
like that.
No, I think that's awesome. You're definitely a great role model. So one thing I did want to bring up really quickly was, a lot of times on my page, like, people could say that I'm very, like, left field in a sense, but a lot of times I'm doing studies. So I posted this post recently, the fellowship choose A or B. So a woman that doesn't work daily, and then it's basically a woman who B that works full time, never cooks, never cleans, but she's not dirty physically. So the funny thing,
I
I
answered that one too.
right, I think a lot of males don't recognize is that, and I'm saying males on purpose, is the fact that there is a like a need or want basically underlying that they don't realize they have to actually be a provider. So a lot of the men that were saying they picked a woman that doesn't work but takes care of all their needs, were a lot of men that have combated me before when it came to, oh, she's saying that we have to, like, do this and financially take care of this. So it showed in that study, basically that quick little study I did, that there is like a need, a deep need to want to be a provider for
Well, I think
So
you make a
do
good
you
point.
remember what my answer was to that?
What was your answer? I don't remember.
My answer was which woman is gonna be honest and love me unconditionally.
Hmm.
That was my answer, and it's like the meme. What's your favorite sex position? And the answer is to the woman that's gonna love and honor you and all that kind of stuff, right?
Hmm.
So that meme is definitely a difference between a man and a male, in my opinion. Yeah, the women were beautiful and all that kind of stuff, and but there's a lot of misogyny in that as well. Cook and clean out. Yeah, I would like those things, but I don't expect my women to have to do those things. Part of being a man is independent, right? I cook, I clean, I do laundry. I may not be
So,
the best at it, but I do that. It's being
but why?
self-sufficient. I'm not looking for a woman that has to cook for me, clean for me. If she can do those things, great. But that's not something that she has to do. It's more about the relationship, right? Working and all that kind of stuff is good too. I mean, but it's not, for me. It's not the primary thing. It's just really the bond you have, in my opinion.
Well, I don't think necessarily everybody has a role to play in a relationship, and men and women are the same coin, opposite sides. And I don't think that gender roles in itself are bad because I do cook. I do most of the cooking in my house. I do clean. Um, but I don't think there's anything wrong with. I think most people don't want to be used, and most people don't want to feel like they're being used. And I think with men, just for myself, because I can only speak for myself, but just from some of the studies and some of the studies that I read, most men just want to feel appreciated. And I think most females don't understand by the more you give and the more appreciative you is. Like I know when my wife gives something to me, right, that makes me want to give her more. When my wife is appreciative of me and the things that I do, that makes me want to do
Right.
more. I
Hmm.
think when people come in with a sense of entitlement and, oh, that's what I deserve, like don't say that to me because you don't deserve anything. Whatever I choose to give from my heart is what I choose to give. But don't come at me and say, well, you deserve something, because what have you done to deserve anything? And I think
But I think everybody deserves respect and honesty, though.
yeah, but we're just that's basic human rights. I'm just talking
Yeah.
about like financially, like I deserve to get a new car or I deserve to have this nice house. And what I choose, what I choose to give to my wife, and when she shows appreciation for the things, that makes me want to do more. And I think if it all depends on your relationship. If a woman want to expect A, Y, X, Y, and Z from you as a man, then I don't think as a man it's improper for me to ask for A, B, and C, because every relationship is an exchange, whether people want to admit it or not. Whether you're getting out of this emotionally, whether you're getting out of it physically, whether you're getting out of this financially, it's an exchange. And where relationships are successful is when people understand that, and then they're able to get their needs met while meeting the needs of the other person that they're in a relationship with.
Hmm.
So I don't feel as though that, like I said, I cook and I clean and I wash clothes and I build stuff around the house and I do a lot of things around the house. But like I said, I don't feel any qualms when I'm sitting down and my wife brings me a plate. I
Hmm.
don't think that's being misogynistic. That's just her saying, you know what, babe, I recognize that you had a long day. Your feet may be hurting. So here I go. I'm going to bring you a plate.
Hmm.
I think it comes down to that. that love language thing too. Different people want and need different things in a relationship,
Facts.
right? I agree with you. Like, it's not misogynist to have your woman. Like, I bring my woman breakfast in bed every day. I have, it's all good. It's I guess is when you expect or demand things from a patriarchal or misogynistic point of view that I think it's an issue, right? But like you said, everybody's different. Some people might want that. I don't know. Everybody's
Uh,
different.
w- Once again, it's a relationship, so I don't think that it should be demands on the male, and I don't think it should be demands on the female. I think it should be a balance to where both people's needs are being met. And I think what's
Hmm.
happened is that in this society, males, the what is expected from a male is different than what is expected from a female, and
Mhm.
there's no balance there. You know what I'm saying? It used to be, 40, 50, 60 years ago that a
Mhm.
family could be able to be raised off of one income. Now you can't do that. So now you have a situation to where both parents are working. So
Mhm.
now all the home making tasks are co-divided, right? But you have situations to where one person may want to hold that person to that 60-year-old standard, but don't want to hold themselves to that 60-year-old standard. So
Mhm.
I think with holding us accountable as males, I don't see any issue with holding our sisters accountable for being females. Like if you want to say we are here to protect our females emotionally and psychologically and provide for them their needs, then I need for you to do the same for me. Because
Mhm.
I may have that one day where I need your emotional support. I may have that one day where I need for you to be my backbone, and I need that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so I think that it's like I said, I think that this society is trying to find out what they want, and it's the ideals of what a man is all over the place. And I
Mhm.
just think we need to get back to some certain standards.
I
And if we're
agree.
going to move to standards, then everybody as a culture need to be held to a standard, not just male, not just women, kids, everybody. Everybody need to hold themselves to a standard because that's what, as a whole.
You actually brought up a great point. You brought up a great point about being a man. As men are typically raised not to show their emotions, and then just in your story, you said, "Hey, there's days that I might need your support, right?"
Mhm.
Usually men are taught to be tough and tough it out, and it's you're soft and things like that. And here you just said that, hey, I'm having a bad day or I'm not strong today. I would like you to help me, raise me up. But that's part of being a man. A lot of men won't do that because for
Mhm.
them, they always thought that's a sign of weakness. You know, I think for me, one of the great equalizers in terms of being a man is when I had daughters. Is something about me and I had my daughters that just switched switch that I didn't have before.
Mhm.
I guess it's that awesome responsibility of being responsible for somebody. Like, when my daughter first came home from the hospital, I was outside, fixing the car seat for 2 hours just to make sure the car seat was in there right? And I was definitely one of those guys when you watch a movie, I would never cry at a movie. Never. Now, there was a
Mhm.
few movies that almost got me, Color Purple, Schindler's List, and Bridges of
Mhm.
Madison County. But at a point, it was for me. It was like, well, I'm a man. I'm not going to cry at a movie. That all changed when I had girls. We would watch movies, and my daughter would be crying. I'm like, what happened, baby? She's like, oh, Bambi died, and I would be sitting there almost like teary-eyed because Bambi died. Like, oh,
Right.
what happened? But
Mhm.
being in tune with your emotions and being human is okay, and it
Right.
should be, and that's something that men need to
Realize.
embrace and realize. And for me, when I look back, definitely having daughters was one of those things that brought all of that, a lot of that out. That it's not that it was super hard, but just brought that soft side, and I loved it. Like brought that soft side in me, and but I'm glad you brought that up because men, and that goes into, and you study psychology, it goes into mental illness and not discussing things. It's all related, right? Men don't talk about their feelings, And
Right.
that in itself is a huge problem because we're never going to evolve or we're never going to be good for somebody else if mentally we're not right. So I'm glad that was a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. We have to be open and honest about our feelings, and we
Well,
don't, it's okay to talk about those things.
I spent 14 years in the military, so I learned how to compartmentalize my military and kind of having a rough childhood. You learn to shove those feelings and those emotions deep down and compartmentalize. But one of the things you have to be careful of is that when you ask a man to be emotional, right, you got to understand what that male's emotion is. Because some people may be emotionally unstable, some people emotion may be anger, some people emotion may be to withdraw, some people emotion may be to fight. So you have to be careful when you're talking about asking a person to, oh well, yeah, you need to be emotion because you don't understand what that person's emotion may be. I know particularly I grew up, my emotion was anger.
Mhm.
So I'm particularly, I show emotion. Like I cried on my brothers. I thought about my brother, and I love my brother dearly. I was very close to my brother growing up, and he passed. And I thought
Oh,
about it, and I cried. So my emotions they escape on me from
yeah,
time to
I
time.
hear that.
But yeah, it's understanding your emotions and where those emotions come from is a
Mhm.
thing. So that's part about being a man too. But you have to be mindful, because you're telling that person to be emotion, and if their emotion is anger, you might get a little bit more than what you've been planning for.
Mhm. But that is also the importance of mental health and actually being able. I'm an advocate for seeking therapy and talking to somebody.
Mhm.
So to be able to, like to reach out to somebody as you take clients, right, Kenneth?
I do. I do. Well, the big thing for me is I've been trying to go online and trying to help people out online.
Hmm.
I'm basically in the process of going back. I'm going to get my master's degree because I was working on my master's in social work and I really didn't like it. But I'm going back to get my master's in family counseling, and I'm gonna major in non-traditional family dynamics. But I do online counseling. Like a lot of people inbox me and I talk to people about different things. So that's kind of been my contribution to the world as a whole, trying to kind of use my skills to help people get through some of the issues that they have.
Yeah, so I definitely like anybody who is watching. Basically, if you want to, like, friend Kenneth, friend Dr. Maloney as well. What is it? And you can hit Kenneth up basically, and see like about like setting up a session or something like that. It's so important to be able to talk to somebody about what's going on in your life and what's going on inside of your head. So we roughly have around 11 minutes left. So with that 11 minutes, I would like you men to explain how does a man or a male, how does a male know if they're a male or a man? Like there's a lot of males that are walking around thinking that they're men. So is there any ways that you guys feel like you can tell them like, okay, like these are signs and traits of a man that's a male, so that they can know like,
Yeah.
okay, like I gotta adjust some things in my life to get myself together so I could reach, you know, a man
Well,
status, I guess.
I don't. That's a great question. I don't think you're constantly evolving. I'm not the same person I am at my age that I was 20 years ago. But one of the difference for me that I know I've evolved is my wants and needs are not the same. When I was when I was younger, a lot of things I wanted were materialistic. I wanted cars, I wanted fancy cars, I wanted a big house, and all that kind of stuff, right? And I got all things, but as I got older, those things aren't important. What I want now is I want happiness. I want to share happiness. I want experiences. I'm more focused on retiring early, things like that financially, right? I don't want one big house. I'd rather have three smaller houses in three different countries, right? Just my mentality has changed.
Yeah.
Um, taking care of your family always has to be the priority, right? And
Facts.
it's not to say there aren't younger gentlemen that aren't men. There, there's levels to it, and it's not like I'm perfectly evolved. Everybody isn't. It's just certain things that you've seen, and it's experience.
Hmm.
It's experience loss and having time to reflect and heal these wounds. You can't always see things when you're in a vacuum, right? Sometimes you have to step out of it. There's everybody has these things in life that it's just changing, right? I grew up
Mm-hmm.
like Kenneth was saying. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I have a brother that was murdered. There's things in life that will just change you and change your priorities, right? So, but for sure, you can see, and Kenneth can attest. If you see younger guys doing stuff, you're like, okay, he's not there yet, right? But it usually goes to those things. It's not about being super immature. It's just your outlook, how you treat people, and where do you see yourself? Well, maybe when you're 30, everything has to be instantaneous now, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me now, maybe because at my age, maybe I'm halfway there. I look longer term in terms of everything I do today. How's that help me 5, 10? How's it going to help my goals 5, 10 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
How's that going to help my kids? So everything I do, every transaction I do, is how's that going to bring me happiness or self-reliance or things like that. And like I said, it's more, and you become. I think you become maybe more confident, not arrogant or ego, but more confident in who you are, and maybe become a little bit more patient and understanding, not rush to judge. And there's a lot of wisdom in being patient and just watching and
Mm-hmm.
listening instead of
Yeah.
just thinking you know everything. So I don't think we're always there yet, but it's wisdom, and that only comes with experience, and hopefully hopefully being on the I don't want to say it's a right and wrong track, but being in the right direction. Because, like I said, there's people of my age that I feel that they're still males, and it saddens me. And I hope
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to be judgmental, but you see it. They're
Yeah.
acting the same way their priorities and things are the same thing I had 20, 25 years ago in
Yeah.
my
Right.
So
life.
basically, so one of the big things recognizing if you're a man or a male is checking where your priorities lie, which is
Facts.
like what you were saying.
And yeah,
It's
being selfless, right? Part of being a man is being selfless, putting others before yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I
And
think
have you can have an ego, not as it pertains to other people and what you do or confident in what you do, but to be able to put that aside and listen to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And learn to be okay. It's okay to be wrong and learn from other people instead of having all the answers, right?
I think if you want to know the difference between a male and a man is if you have a me attitude versus a we attitude, and you have people that you're responsible for, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not taking care of your responsibility to the people that you naturally innately have a responsibility to, you're wrong. If you can't be part of the solution or the solution, you're wrong. If you can't hold yourself to a higher standard and be a role model for the people around you as a male, you're wrong. So I think what it is we're giving people a pass, and we need to start holding ourselves more accountable. If my son is 20, almost 21, and if he goes out there and does something, I still feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's not out there doing anything, but I would feel because I would think as a man I did something wrong, even though he's an adult.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If when my younger son he goes to school and he's not necessarily doing what he do, I feel bad and I preach to him and I'll be like, yo, you're not gonna go out there and make me look bad because you have my last name and not your last name. You have my last name. So it's that accountability, is that leadership, is that taking that leadership role in teaching and guiding. And some men aren't the main dominant personality in their relationship, but they learn how to teach and guide and being role models from whatever position that they're playing. But if you're not taking care of your responsibilities, because if you can't take care of them, don't make them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't hold yourself to a certain standard, then just don't do these things. Just being a male is about the woman is the glue, right? That holds the family together. But the male is the foundation to which the glue attaches to. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
you're not a foundation for the people around you, if you are anchored, you're weighing everybody down. If you're not being that backbone to which the woman can bond on to and do the things that she needs to do as a woman, you're wrong. And that doesn't even have to be your wife. It could be your sister. It could be your mother. It could be your cousin. It could be just female friends that, just need a male's advice. And you're there and you have a solid person. You have a solid personality that they can come to and talk to and get an emasculate advice about a particular situation, So we just changed the roles and people are so not in tune with being honest. Like if I love my wife, right, and I get myself in trouble with this all the time because I'm honest with my wife, and I be sitting there like, yo, that's what makes our relationship great, and I just deal with the consequences for being honest with my wife because she knows that I'm not an easy personality to get along with at times, and I could be demanding, but I'm demanding of myself at times. But one of the things that she says she loves about me, she always knows where she stands with me. And she knows I'm not going to lie and I'm going to tell the truth. And like, if I do something, I take responsibility and I'll just deal with the consequences. She'll just be mad at me and I'll apologize and I'll do what I need to do to make things right. But as a male, I just feel as though these are certain things that I need to be a backbone for my family. I need to be that anchor. I need to be that foundation where everybody can bond on to. And I need to teach my sons how to be that. And I need to, leave a legacy for my sons, not just financially, but character wise, because, it's just like, I tell my sons, I don't raise bad kids. I don't raise kids that are disrespectful. I don't raise kids like, when they pick up something, I'd be like, where'd you get that from? No, you didn't get that from me. So wherever you found it, lose it again. So, so many men are just afraid to just take that responsibility and take it on their chest and just not worried about being liked, but just worried about being the foundation and being the structure to which everybody bonds on to, where the woman can be there and do what she needs to do.
I agree.
I also think it's also the differentiating between wants and needs. Like I was in the store today. Perfect example. I was in the store today. I was in Walmart, and there was something I wanted to buy, and I was like, "Do I really need that?" I wanted it. So instead of buying that, I took the money I was going to take to buy that and put it in my youngest kid's college fund. Right? I wouldn't have done that 20 years ago. Right? That's a clear differentiate for me. Like I said, looking at the future and differentiating between wants and needs. So I mean that's huge as well.
And we do have Michael Wright who wrote, "Have we given a pass to men or to women as far as setting the example or positive influence and being accountable?" So actually, spoke on this basically like a few minutes ago, if you want to say, or half hour ago. He was actually holding both women and men accountable for, basically the state of where we are as a community today. So I definitely feel like we've been lazy basically in allowing people to not have standards when it comes to, as Kenneth said, men, women, children. But it's time for us to, if we all want to talk about, I always say this, we want to talk about Black Wall Street, we cannot talk about a new Black Wall Street without having standards within our communities.
Facts.
Happen. So we're actually coming to a close. So as we come to a close, if you guys would like to share your social media contact, and you could also share a little tip or anything like in your closing statement before we close this out. You could go first, Kenneth.
I just say this, I can't say this enough, that men and women are the same coin, just opposite sides. I don't need for you to be my equal, because if you're my equal, you're on my same side. I need for you just to have my back. And that is nothing wrong with being traditional, and there's nothing wrong with me playing my role and you playing your role. And that brings balance, because a lot of times that's why we have people out here and there's not balance. We have all these women out here, there's too much emotion and not enough logic. And you have men out here too logical and not enough emotion.
Right.
So I need my wife to give me balance. I need for her to balance me out. She is my opposite half. She is my better half. And when, I get into one of my little moods, she know how to come and talk to me and basically get me to think about things from the effeminate side, in which I need to think about because I can get too logical, and she can give it to me from an emotional side. So, ladies, start loving real men, start giving real men an opportunity. Stop looking at what society tells you isn't a real man. Start listening to your heart. Start looking for somebody who's going to balance you out. Start looking for somebody who's going to be that foundation for which you can be the glue to hold the family together. And it's all right to love. It's all right to like. It's all right to hurt. And you're not going to have a true relationship until you're all in, until you feel as though you have something to lose. Because when you start having something to lose, when you feel as though you have something to lose, you start appreciating what you have.
Mm-hmm. Great. And how can people follow you on social media? Like, where can they go?
Kenneth Leeto, you see my gorgeous face. That's my profile. Same thing on Instagram. I don't have Twitter. So, just inbox me if you would like to follow me. Send me an inbox, and we can go from there.
All right, Dr. Maloney.
I guess my message would be to the men. Let's make it cool to be chivalrous again. Let's make it cool to love women. Let's make it cool to nurture women. Let's make it cool for women not to have to be strong. Let's make it cool to not have to dog women, and let's make it cool to be honest with ourselves and have integrity and character, and work on our own mental health issues as well. I want men to elevate our women, and I think that starts with us.
Awesome. And how can do you have a social media that you'd like to send people to, or your Facebook page?
Yeah, I have Instagram and YouTube. Dr. Brendan Maloney on YouTube and Dr. D Maloney on Instagram, and my Facebook is private unless I know you.
Okay. All right, so everybody definitely shoot over and follow these kings. In the closing, like I always like to say, kings, I want you to know that you are amazing. You are phenomenal. Basically, whatever you put your mind to, you can do. Know that you are one in all of the world, not one in a million. You are one in all of the world. That makes you irreplaceable. That makes you amazing. So keep on doing what you're doing. And if you ever feel down, remember that I said you are one in all the world, baby. Do your thing, okay? Thank you for joining us. Conversation with
Thank you
Kings.
for having us.
Thank you for having me again.